So let's focus on speaking. And when I say focusing on speaking, I mean the development of our speaking skills. And let's get familiar with some useful phrasal verbs and phrases, this time referring to describing an event and arranging meetings and what follows up a meeting. So let's start, shall we? And first, let's get familiar with a set of useful phrasal verbs which we can use while describing events. I will suggest now starting with the context, that is, discovering the meaning of the phrasal verbs within the context. Human Circus at the London Arts Centre. The show was fully booked up for weeks, and when it opened last night, the public poured in, and very soon the London Arts Centre was packed out. But why? What had they come to see? Human beings who take off circus animals with men in cat suits who stand in for the real lions and tigers. The show was put on by its creator to protest against traditional circuses and to send a message about cruelty to animals. Such a noble cause, I would say. The show was timed to tie in with the National Protection of Animals Week. It was a good idea, but the standard of the performances was third-rate, and an embarrassing number of people simply walked out before it ended. There were some amusing moments when the performance sent up typical circus folk, but overall it was a dismal show. Despite the large turnout for the show's first night, I doubt it will attract many people during the rest of its 7-day run. What a pity, such a noble cause, but the performance was poor. Now let's see what the meaning of the phrasal verbs are. So the first one here is booked up. So the show was fully booked up. So when an event, a person or place is booked up, it means that they have no space or time available for someone. So I can be booked up. That means I'm extremely busy, I'm not available. The place can also be booked up. Then to pour in, that means to arrive or enter somewhere in very large numbers. To be packed out, here packed out is an adjective and it means very full, extremely crowded. The next phrasal verbs is take off. Yeah, we know the planes take off, whereas here there's a totally different meaning and it refers to copying the way a person or an animal behaves, often in order to make somebody laugh. So the next one is to stand in, which means to play the role for a short period of time. In this case, men in cat suits played the role of real lions and tigers. The next one is to put on. The show was put on, which means the show was organized. Then we have to tie in with. So when an event ties in with another event, it means that they happen at the same time. The next one is to walk out. That means to leave the performance before it has ended, because people don't like the performance, they are annoyed, they are angry. Then we have to send the performance sent up. Typical circus folk. So in our case here, sent up is to send up is synonymous with take off, which means to make somebody or something seem stupid by copying them in a funny way. And finally, we have here a noun. We do have a phrasal verb to turn out, but here we have the turn out, which means the number of people who came to watch or take part in an event or activity. Okay, let's get familiar with a few more phrasal verbs. Call something off or call off something. This means to cancel something, especially because something does not seem possible or useful any longer. We decide to call off the meeting because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Cram into or in somewhere, that means to go into a place even though it is too small and all of a sudden it becomes very full, extremely full. So the example is the hall seated 200 but more than 300 crammed into it for the meeting. I'm not sure one could breathe them in such a crowded place. To pass off means to happen, particularly in a good way. The demonstration passed off peacefully despite fears that there will be violence. Good. Then to put off something or to put something off means to postpone something to a later date. And the example, we had to put off the match because the rain was so heavy. To put forward or back something, or to put something forward or back, that means to arrange something for an earlier or later time. And we have the example, we've put the time of the meeting forward so more people can come. Now let's get to some useful phrases, and I will suggest looking at phrases helping us setting up a meeting, phrases which we might use in our future career. I'm trying to arrange a meeting for the next week. Can you make Thursday afternoon the meeting, right? Can you make it Friday instead? I don't think we need more than 2 hours. That will mean the meeting won't last more than 2 hours. I've booked the conference room for 2 o'clock. I'll send you my draft proposals till Monday midday. The meeting should be finished by 3:30 and the meeting should be finished at 3:30. So there's a difference here. By 3:30, probably earlier than 3:30, whereas at 3:30 indicates that at this time the meeting is going to be over. Just in case the meeting overruns, it might happen. Just in case the meeting doesn't finish on time, so to have some plan B. Any day except Friday would suit me when speaking about availability. I'm free every day next week except Friday. Could you check with Alex and get back to me? Now some useful phrases when working through an agenda. Who would like to take the minutes? I'd like to leave item 3 until next meeting. I'd like to make a point. Does everyone agree? Let's move on to item 2 on the agenda. So pay attention to the prepositions. Can we go through the minutes? We need to vote on it on the agenda. What are your thoughts on this? How do you feel about this? What do you think? I'd like to hear everyone's opinion. Now, useful phrases reporting back to a meeting. I was asked to find out what the people in my department thought about arranging more meetings online. It was my job to find out about. You asked me to find out about. I've talked to the office staff and the majority opinion is. The majority feeling was that they would prefer to have face-to-face meetings. Most people are in favor of the change. The majority opinion is in favor. But there might be people disagreeing. Not many people agree with the idea. The minority opinion is against it. Of the 50 people I asked, only 1 did not agree with the idea. 1 in 50 agreed with the idea. Nearly 100% of the staff replied to the questionnaire. A quarter or half, 3/4 of the staff were in favor. Useful phrases referring to reaching an agreement. Does everyone agree? Are all in agreement? Do you have the same opinion? Does anyone disagree? Is that really necessary? So I'd like to draw your attention to really, which is used for the sake of emphasis in speech and is commonly used in everyday speech, in the business environment as well. Are you really sure? I suppose you are right. Now, how can we make a point? The other point I want to make, I'd like to make another point. Just one other point. I'd like to make one final point. We really must avoid this in the future. It's vital that we avoid this in the future. So here subjunctive is used. It's essential that we make changes. The same. It's crucial that people should read their messages. That's not true. I'm sorry, but I don't agree. So don't forget to be polite when disagreeing. I don't think that's true. I'm not sure that's true. Is that really true? Some useful phrases when having a follow-up phone call, for example. I'm just phoning to let you know. I'm just phoning to tell you thank you for doing the minutes. I'm just calling you to remind you of next week's meeting. I thought I should let you know immediately. That means I wanted to let you know what happened. I'll call you tomorrow so we can discuss details then. I'll let you know. I'll send you a message. I'll organize it. Let me know if I left anything out. Check if I made any mistakes. Are you having second thoughts? On second thoughts, I'd like to accept the proposal. We made a very good case for changing the system. So this draws us to an end. Now we have to get more familiar with these phrases, and definitely we shall practice, we shall learn them, and we shall use them in context.